I first met Iowabeard when he moved to our hometown in 6th grade. He moved there in the middle of the year. I saw him in the hall wandering around, looking lost and alone, searching for his classes. Something inside me compelled me to help him out. At the time, I felt that this was a simple act of kindness towards someone completely new to the area. Little did I know this would turn out to be the biggest mistake of my life. I introduced myself to him, and his eyes lit up. I interpreted this as him being happy that somebody was saying hi to him. Looking back, I was very wrong. More on that later. Immediately, he was quite off-putting despite being 11 or 12 at the time. He looked like a giant 6-year-old, a true baby-faced fella. He was also quite round, with so much face fat that his eyes were nearly eclipsed. No matter what, he would always spike up his hair. That combined with his glasses made him look like a Kim Jong-il. The worst part was, he reeked. Absolutely stank up the place, the most pungent body odor imaginable. Not even being masked by any body spray. Not like that would do all too much, but it would have at least been a nice gesture. He introduced himself in his shaky voice. "Hi, I am Iowabeard. Pleased to make your acquaintance." A little odd sounding, sure. Still, what's the use of judging someone I don't know? "Hi, I'm Opie," I told him. He smiled widely. "Opie? I like that name. I like that name a lot. It's a very nice name." That made me a little uncomfortable. Nevertheless, I decided to show him to his next class. On the way there, he was explaining how he moved from Delaware and was so happy to get out of there. Apparently, every single person there was a no-good, filthy bully who sought every day to ruin my life. Another red flag was slowly rising. It was at that point when I decided that it would be better to show him to his class, then probably not talk to him again. I brought him to the class. He asked me 3 times if I was in the same one. Each time I told him that I was not. He made this over-the-top rage comic-styled sad face. Then would ask me again, but in a rewarded form. I didn't have time to stay there. I had classes of my own. I had all but forgotten about Iowabeard until English class rolled along. I was happy that I had this class with my boyfriend. Let's call him Nathan. Before you say anything in the comments, yes, I had a boyfriend in 6th grade. I know, you don't know what love is at that age. Dating is for high school or college. I get it. Stick around and read the rest before you say anything like that. Okay? Thanks. Anyways, I once sat down next to him. He started telling me about this new kid who he got to know in 2nd period. I had a feeling who he was talking about. Sure enough, I was right. A few minutes later, I smelled that smell, the undeniable smell of Iowabeard. I turned around, and he was standing right behind us. "Ah, Nathan, I see you know Opie. She is nice, isn't she?" Nathan smiled. "I'd say so." Iowabeard sat next to Nathan, and the two started talking. I let them go. It was nice to see Nathan being kind to someone with no friends. His kind heart is one of the first things I have always liked about him. Though I was not a big fan of Iowabeard's smell, which was quickly making me feel nauseous. Iowabeard did not appear at lunch either. He sat between me and Nathan, trying to talk to both of us. I don't remember what the subject was. All I remember is that it made me and Nathan feel very uncomfortable. We all 3 had the rest of our classes together. When we got out for the day, Iowabeard ran to catch up to us, his body mass jiggling like jello. However, he was quickly dismayed when he saw that his parents were there to pick him up. He threw a small temper tantrum because he could not talk to his new friends and dramatically stormed off. Nathan and I didn't live too far away from our middle school, so we always walked back home. On our walk, I asked him why he was hanging out with Iowabeard. He told me that he felt bad for the guy. He was sitting in the back of the class, looking lost and alone. He knew what it was like to be the new guy with no friends, as he had moved to the state 2 years before. Not wanting this new guy to go through the same thing, he decided to befriend him. While he acknowledged that Iowabeard was an odd guy, he seemed well-meaning and overall harmless. I decided to trust his judgment. Maybe Iowabeard was just socially awkward. Maybe with time he would get some social skills and eventually learn to shower. Oh, how wrong I was. Day after day, Iowabeard would not leave our sides unless he had to. He stuck to us like glue. I was uncomfortable, but decided to let it be. After all, he was not hurting anybody. Day after day, Iowabeard would not leave our sides unless he had to. He stuck to us like glue. I was uncomfortable, but decided to let it be. After all, he was not hurting anybody. We're also learning a lot about him, and that didn't help like him any better. He was a proponent of admiring the female backside, loved video games to an excessive degree, and was an aspiring writer. One day, Nathan and I offered to read some of his stories and give him some feedback. He proceeded to give us several pages thick story filled with sexism, racism, and a lot of typos. How can you misspell "the" so many times? It was a headache. When he asked what we thought of it, we decided to sugarcoat it. He ignored any semblance of criticism and went on and on and on about what an amazing author he was, and that he was happy to have some new fans. Sure, we were fans, I guess. The rest of the year was like this. I didn't really like Iowabeard, and I voiced this to Nathan, and he agreed. Still, Nathan wanted to stay friends with Iowabeard because he wanted to help him out. Over time, he had developed a reputation at school. He was often seen staring at girls' butts and would have these legendary temper tantrums when he had bad grades, which happened a ton. In fact, he barely passed 6th grade. It turns out his bad typing skills were not just for his stories. His reports were a mess. When we would trade our essays for peer review in English class, whoever got this ended up dousing it in red ink. Most of the time, he would storm over to them and give them an earful. Basically, he would accuse them of being bullies who did not know how to identify quality works. The only times he did not go on the attack were when either Nathan or myself edited his essays. He only looked at us, say "thank you," and ignored what we had to say. He ended up getting something like a C- or a D+ at best. He even told us that he barely passed the 6th grade. That summer, Iowabeard would stop by Nathan's house, sometimes uninvited. He would justify these unannounced visits by saying, "That's how people do it in Delaware." I'm not so sure that's true. Can any of my Delaware readers confirm this? Besides, I thought he said that everyone there was a bully. When Nathan and I would talk, he would always have some kind of crazy story about Iowabeard. Some of the ones I remember are how two were playing Smash Brothers. Iowabeard would never hit any of the female fighters because it's rude to hit a lady, and would get mad when the computer randomly picked a female fighter, to the point where Nathan had to start the battle over until it was an all-male roster. He would ask Nathan who his favorite big bottoms were. Nathan never answered that, which made Iowabeard fairly upset. However, this did not stop him from going on and on about some of the TV or movie characters he liked the butts of. One time, he was over at Nathan's house for dinner. His mom made spaghetti. Iowabeard said that he could tell that the noodles were low quality because of how easy they were to cut. Needless to say, it was quite a while before Iowabeard was invited back to Nathan's house for dinner. I was not without my summer Iowabeard encounters either. Whenever few times we happened to bump into each other, he would constantly ask for my phone number. When I declined over and over, he would latch on to me, not leaving until I left myself. This even happened when Nathan and I were going to the movie theater or the local retro arcade. The guy would never leave us alone. 7th grade was more of the same. There isn't much of a cohesive tale with this, but I will share some amusing anecdotes. Iowabeard showed up to lunch one day with a red 3-ring binder. He told us that this was his Super Bottom collection. Inside were pictures of characters like Bessie from Back at the Barnyard, and Maria from Total Drama, or the sister from Paranorman. Page after page of pictures of his beloved Super Bottoms. I was very disgusted. I, being a girl, did not take too kindly to this guy being so open to objectify women in front of me. Nathan was likewise uncomfortable. Despite how many times we tried to tell him that we were uncomfortable, he kept on describing his favorite super bottoms and what qualities their butts he liked best. Even the two of us telling him that this is unbelievably creepy would not deter him. Sure enough, word of his infamous super bottom binder spread, and people began to make fun of him for it. As if that was not bad enough, he would always have the worst replies. This one actually happened. Some guy shouted to him, "Hey, Iowabeard, have a nice jerk-off session to Gloria the Hippo?" Iowabeard shouted back, "It wasn't Gloria! It was Floor de Gloire!" One day, Iowabeard tried to challenge our math teacher to a debate to prove that the math teacher only gave him an F on a recent test because he was trying to bully him. Not even getting detention stopped him from getting on to his rant. His smell was getting worse, but this was the age where he discovered Axe body spray. Now he smelled like a walking dumpster covered with a gallon of chemicals. Charming. Truly charming. He tried out for both the school musical and the football team, but did not make it on either. Apparently, both of these groups had paid off the people in charge to not let him join because they were too scared of his power and might. Well, that's what he told us, and everyone who would listen, that is. We have to believe him. It's the only thing that makes sense. What? Do you think that this increasingly rotund, tone-deaf, emotionally unbalanced, arrogant, socially awkward, touchy-feely, stinky boy was unqualified to be given a spot? That's impossible! Nathan went over to Iowabeard's house for the first time. He met his parents, who, as it turns out, ran a tight ship. When Iowabeard told them about what trouble he had gotten into that day, a big fight broke out, which Iowabeard has apparently kept escalating when his parents were trying to wait until they no longer had company. Nathan also met Iowabeard's older brother, who was actually the total opposite. He was kind, well-groomed, and did not make awkward comments about women's butts every 10 minutes. Because of the stories above, Nathan was starting to want to distance himself from Iowabeard. Frankly, I felt that this was a dream come true. Iowabeard was becoming more aggressive in his attempts to attract a super bottom. He also had a new target. Me. See, I'll be the first to admit that my rear end is on the bigger side. Luckily, I have not struggled with body issues a ton. I've for the most part been relatively comfortable with who I am and how I look. However, the closest I have gone to feeling bad about my body was when Iowabeard started making his advances towards the end of 7th grade. He had taken particular interest in my butt, calling me things like his booty queen, or saying that I was rumpalicious. This bothered me a lot, but he remained undeterred. After all, it is good to appreciate a woman's features, especially when she has been given such a gift. Whenever I would tell the teachers about this, the little demon would probably own up to it, unable to grasp how I could possibly have a problem with any of this. Needless to say, many detentions were given to him. Around the start of 8th grade, Iowabeard was now finally ready to confess his feelings for me, which he did in a crowded hallway, and while Nathan was standing right next to me. I didn't have time to reject him because Nathan stepped in to tell Iowabeard that we were dating. He did not believe him. It took me having to confirm this to finally get him to understand. He then accused me of leading him on, despite the fact that not only was the fact that it was taken extremely obvious, but we had told him that we were dating many, many times. I guess he chose to ignore that, or has memory issues? Iowabeard was not done yet. He exploded at Nathan, accusing him of stealing his queen from him. After all, he liked me first.